31, what is the slope of the graph of the linear function given by this pattern? So don't think too hard about this when you're basically looking to see what is happening as you go down the line. And as you notice, you are subtracting 4 every single time. Another way to look at it, because if you're graphing, because it says graph, you need an x and a y. Well, you don't have an x and a y on this one. But what you're looking for is the first term is 7. The second term is 3. The third term is -1, and so on. And if you were to do that, you would see that the slope is going to be -4. Question 32. Change y equals 2x minus 8 to standard form. On this one, you guys are used to being given standard form, which is ax plus by equals c, where you have the x and the y on the same side and then equaling the whole number. So this is now going the other way. The easiest thing for you to do is to take each answer choice and solve for y to see which one will give you this. I'm going to give you some time to do that. The first thing I'm going to do is solve each of the answer choices, and I'm going to start with C and D because they have a positive y, and I think that's a lot easier to solve. So I know for this one, I would minus 2x, and I would get y equals -2x minus 8. Well, that's not at all what we have up there. We needed a positive 2x. So C is not it. This one, minus 2x, y equals -2x plus 8. So that's not going to be it. But those were easy to do. So then I know I have to do some with the negatives. So I'm going to start with A, minus 2x, negative y, I'm going to put a 1 there, equals -2x plus 8. I have to divide everything by -1. Y equals positive 2x minus 8. And that is exactly what we have. So our answer choice is A. Question 33. If a system of equations has no solution, what does the graph look like? If it's a system, there's 2 lines, and remember, if it doesn't have a solution, then it's going to be parallel lines because they never touch. Remember, in a system, the solution is where they intersect. So if it's no solution, they will be parallel lines. Question 34. What is the equation of the line in slope-intercept form? Your answer for this one is going to be B, letter B. And it's because we have to look at the M and the B for our graph. The first thing I do is eliminate answer choices. The first thing I notice when I look at this graph, it is the M is positive. It is going uphill. So I would come over here and I could eliminate C and D because they have negative slopes. Then all I have to look at is the B. And I can find that easily because it is the y-intercept, and the B is going to be 2. So that's how I know it has to be choice B. Another thing you could have looked at to eliminate answer choices is looked at the B first. It begins at 2. That would have gotten rid of A and C. Then you could have looked at whether the slope was positive or negative to still get answer choice B. 35. Solve the system of equations using the graphing method. because we're looking for graphing, we need you to get out a piece of graph paper or draw a graph on your paper and graph both of these equations. If you're going to graph, you need to know the M and the B. The M for this one is 1. The B for this one is 0. So I'm going to start at 1. I'm going to start at 0. And I'm going to go up and over 1. Up and over 1. Up and over 1. Down and over 1. Same thing. For this one, M equals negative 2 over 3. B equals 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to go down 2 over 3. Down 2 over 3. The answer is where they meet. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Answer choice A. Now I want to give you a little strategy, because if you can't graph and you can't solve this substitution method, then you are going to want to take your answer choices and substitute them in to each equation. For example, if I take 3, 3, and I substitute it into y equals x, that would be 3 equals 3. And that's true. So I get a yes. You did this in the first assignment in the Unit 7 homework folder. Then I'm going to try it with the other equation. 3 equals negative 2 over 3 times 3 plus 5. I have a fraction. I'm going to put a 1 under it. 3 equals negative 6 over 3 plus 5. 3 equals negative 2 plus 5. And I get 3 equals 3. And that is a yes too. Remember, if you get a yes for the first equation, a yes for the second equation, you will have the correct answer. Number 36, solve this system of equations. Again, you don't want to graph it or you don't want to use substitution. You would take each of these x and y, substitute them into both equations, and you're looking for a yes and a yes. As well. You can use substitution on this also. I have x equals. We usually have a y equals that we circle, but in this case we already have an x equals. So I'm simply going to circle what x equals, and I'm going to substitute it for the x. So that means I have 4, and instead of x, I'm going to put that 2y minus 8, and then bring down the rest of the equation. Then I distribute 8y minus 32 plus y equals 13. I can combine 8y plus y, and that gives me 9y minus 32 equals 13. Now I have a two-step equation. Plus 32 plus 32. 9y equals 45. Divide by 9, divide by 9. Y equals 5. Then I can look at my answer choices, and I could immediately eliminate A because it has a negative 5, and D because it also has a negative 5. Now I'm going to go up to this equation and substitute in what the y equals, which is 5. X is going to equal positive 2. So I know my answer choice is going to be C, 2, 5. If you substituted those numbers in instead, if I substitute answer choice C in to the first equation, I would have 2 equals 2 times 5 minus 8 2 equals 10 minus 8. So 2 equals 2. And that's a yes. Now I have to see if the second equation is a yes. 4 parentheses 2 plus 5 equals 13. 8 plus 5 equals 13. 13 equals 13. So that's a yes. That's why it is also the answer choice. Question 37. Jack looks at two different lawn mowing services. Company A charges $8 plus an additional $5 per hour. Company B charges $2 plus an additional $6 per hour. The total price for each company is the same amount. How many hours do the companies estimate it will take? Since we have two companies, we're going to write two separate equations. So company A charges $8 and then $5 per hour. Per hour means that's going to be the M because it's occurring over and over again. And the $8 is the initial fee. So I'm going to do y equals 5x plus 8. Company B charges $2 plus $6 per hour. Again, the per hour is going to be the M, and the $2 will be the fee. So y equals 6x plus 2. So now we have a choice. We can solve it using a graph. You can graph each of these equations and see where they meet. And we're all obviously looking for the x value because that's the per hour. So you have to keep in mind that we have x and y, but in this case, the x is going to stand for the hours, and the y is going to stand for the total cost. Because our question is looking for how many hours. So we really only need to find the x value. So you could graph these and find where they meet and take the x value. You could also use the substitution method and solve for the x value. Or you could take each of these and substitute them in for x. Let's first start with substitution. Because we have both that are set equal to y, so that means we're just going to set them equal to each other. So 5x plus 8 equals 6x plus 2. You could take each x value and substitute it in and get a true statement. That when you get the true statement, that's going to be your answer choice. Or we can simply solve for x right here. So I'm going to minus 8, minus 8, bring down the 5x, 6x minus 6. I noticed that I only have one term on the first side of the 5x, so I'm going to leave it there. I have two terms on the other side, so I have to move one of those terms. And because I have an x on the first side, I'm going to move the 6x by subtracting it on both sides. So I have negative 1x equals negative 6. Now I divide both sides by negative 1. And I get x equals 6. So that tells me that it will take 6 hours before the companies will each take the same amount to cost. Another way would be to make a table. So for company A, I have the hours and the money. I'm going to go ahead and create the same for the other one. So if I have worked 0 hours for these people that I'm about to work, they already have to pay me $8. So then after I work 1 hour, I'm going to make $13 because I have to add 5 each time. After the second hour, I have to add 5. It's going to be $18, and I can keep going. For company B, they're charging $2 plus the additional 6 per hour. So even if I haven't worked any hours yet, I'm still going to make $2. So then after the first hour, I'm going to make 8 because I have to add 6 each time. 8 plus 6 is 14, and I can keep going. And if you keep going, you will see that when you get to 6 hours, the Y value would be the same. You keep going until those numbers are exactly the same, and it would be at 6 hours. So A would be your answer choice. Question 38. Which of the following figures does not represent a function? A function is when the x does not repeat. And the easiest way to look is to go to each answer choice. For A, I'm going to circle all of the x values. And I did not circle the same number twice. That is a function. I'm going to skip B because that's a different kind of representation. I'm going to go to answer choice C. I have 3, 2, and 4. X does not repeat. That is a function. Answer choice D. 1 is going to 3 parties. That's okay. 2 is trying to go to more than one party. That is not okay. Now I can go to B because I'm pretty sure I already know my answer. But choice B is different. Choice B, you have to use the vertical line test. Remember, you're trying to find a place where that vertical line is going to cross more than once. And you're not going to be able to find one. So it passes the test. It is a function. So answer choice D would be your answer. Question 39. Which equation is a linear function? Keep in mind, this year, 8th grade has focused only on linear functions. You have graphed linear functions, and you have used them in word problems, but the only kind of functions that you have used throughout the year. So you need to look at these equations. Your answer choice is going to be the one that looks like what we've been using this year. Based on that, you should have chosen answer choice A. Because we've been graphing with M and B, and we've been solving word problems, this is the only kind of equation we've used repeatedly over and over and over again. We don't want exponents. Those are not going to make a straight line. Question 40. Compare the rates of change for the two linear functions represented below. So this is where we have to remember the different words for rate of change. For the first graph, you need to find the slope. So I'm going to find 2 points where they intersect, and I'm going to basically make it close enough just because our answer is going to be clear once we get it. So those are the 2 points I'm choosing. 1, 2. 1. So M equals 2. Over here, I'm going to look and see that I have decimals. And sometimes I'm not really good at decimals. Well, actually, I'm really good at decimals. But sometimes you're not really good at decimals. So I'm going to choose the ones that I can use easily, which is going to be these 2. And I know that I have to choose y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to go this direction. It doesn't matter what direction I go as long as I go the same direction on both sides. So I'm going to do 10 minus 14. And then over here, I have to go this direction as well. 2.5 minus 3.5. 10 minus 14 is negative 4. 2.5 minus 3.5 is negative 1. So that equals negative 4. So the m for this one is negative 4. Now I just have to see which one is steeper and growing at a faster rate. It doesn't matter if one is growing in the positive direction or the negative direction. It just matters how steep it is. So the m equals negative 4 is actually going to be steeper. So your answer choice is B. The second is greater. Okay, hold on. So I need to go back and make my mistake correct because the bottom number right here is negative 1, so it would actually be positive 4, which luckily still gives us the same answer. Thank you, Cece.